Let me introduce you to these lovely ladies you see up here. So we're doing something a little different tonight. We didn't want it to just be one speaker. I really feel like all of these women have something amazing to share with you guys. So if you participated at all in our group studies that we just finished up, we talked about balance, or maybe the lack thereof. For me, that's the case. But anyway, so we just wanted to get together and just have just a conversation, a living room discussion about balance and how that looks like for each of us, how we work at that, how we fail at that, how what we do to really try to balance and get there with all the craziness that we have going on in our lives, not to mention the fact that the holidays are coming up and who's excited about that or who's stressed out about that, maybe. Maybe that's it. Maybe you're stressed out. Maybe that's where you're at. I love the holidays, but it can be stressful. So with everything we've got going on, I just wanted to get honestly, this is like my personal panel that I am sharing with you guys tonight. I go to each of these ladies for advice or mentorship or counseling about everything. So I'm going to let you borrow them this evening. Okay, I guess you can have them if you don't have a panel of your own, but these are who I go to. So I'm going to kind of introduce them a little bit myself, and I'm going to let them share more about who they are and what they do. But we'll start over here. So this is Lori Hopper. I don't know if you guys know her, but if you know her or her daughter, she's got 3 daughters. So who's a mama in the house? Okay, yeah. Who's a mama of girls? Okay, right here, yeah. And I don't know how she does it, but she has raised 3, not just 1, but 3 fantastic young ladies. So I go to this woman for parenting advice and tips. And if you don't have somebody to go to, she is a great person to go to. She doesn't always think she does it well, but she does. So next to her, we've got Lisa Dotson over here, my sweet friend. She is somebody who I have asked her to be my personal spiritual mentor. And I just got to make my silly face. But I love her. She's amazing, and you're going to hear that when you talk to her. Debbie over here, gosh, I go to Debbie just to sit on her couch, sometimes just to soak in her wisdom, and sometimes just so I can complain about things or get frustration out or go to her for anything on work, from work to marriage. Gosh, I've been to her for everything. And Leslie, when I asked Leslie to do this, I met her at Starbucks, and she said, isn't this funny that for like 5 years now, we have kind of been meeting at Starbucks every now and then just so she can pour into me and give me advice on work and careers and all kinds of stuff. And then Emily over here, she is the youngest here, but she has plenty of wisdom to give. She works with my husband, so respect for this woman over here. Okay, but I'm going to let them just introduce yourselves to us and kind of tell us everything that you all are balancing. So if you don't care, Emily, we're going to start with you.
Like she said, my name is Emily Hammond.
Oh, we can't hear you yet.
Yes. Hi, I'm Emily. I am a newlywed of 5 months to my lovely husband. I lead a small group of 3rd graders and then another one of senior girls. And I do work here at the church. I'm on the leadership team here at the Well. I also help run our children and students ministries and keep her husband in line.
It's a hard job.
So I'm balancing, kind of, maybe.
Trying to. Lots of roles, lots of hats. Leslie?
Well, as Gabby said, I'm Leslie, and let me just go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. And the truth is that most of the time, I do not feel like I am balancing life well. I often feel like I'm a failure, sometimes multiple times a day. So if you all feel that way, you're in good company, because I think most of us were confused why she asked us to be here today. So that's the reality of how we feel. But I'm a child of the King, and should be doing a quiet time every day of the week, but honestly probably get a good quiet time 3 to 4 days of the week. I am married to the man of my dream, Rocky, and I'm the mother of a 6-year-old little boy named Ross who just fills my cup up every single day. I just get so much joy from him. I'm also an employee and a boss, and lead a marketing communications team at University of the Cumberlands. So that's a little bit about me.
Lots of things to juggle there. Debbie?
Well, I'm Debbie Gilbert, and obviously I'm the oldest of the group. I just turned 60 in September, and yeah. So it's kind of a remarkable thing for me because I started back to school. I'm working on my PhD at the University of the Cumberlands and counseling there 2 days a week college students. Recently, I moved from the staff of the church to open a private practice in counseling called Family Options. So trying to get that new business up and going and working on school. I'm married 42 years to the same guy. And would have to say marriage is the hardest thing you could ever balance. I'm a mom. I'm the grandmother of the triplet Gilbert girls and of our 10-year-old grandson, Brian. And I'm a daughter, and I'm a sister, and, I'm a church volunteer. There's lots of things that we have to do in life. And I have to say that if there's any sense of balance, it has to come from the Holy Spirit that lives in us through our relationship with Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Lisa, what you got
Hey
going on?
guys, I'm Lisa, and I've often wanted to sit on Debbie's couch due to the lack of balance in my life.
I go there often.
Yes, I'm going to have to start that, and I'll bring Starbucks. But I am a disciple of Christ, number one. Man, I love Jesus, and if I could get paid for just sitting at the feet of Jesus, that would be what I would do, always. But I also am a wife and a mama to 2 fantastic kiddos I love so much. And my journey has led me down a road to owning a photography business for about the last 8 years. And God has truly blessed it. It's thriving, and it's such a blessing in my life. And I also work at Sublimity Elementary. Woo woo, go Eagles, if anybody's out there. And I love my church. I do a lot there with our children's ministry, youth ministry, help lead worship, and do church videos and all kinds of wonderful things. And love the body of Christ.
Sounds like you're not really doing much at all, Lisa.
Oh, and I have a new puppy. That's all I'm
On
gonna say.
top of all of that, let's throw on a dog, you
That's all I'm
know?
gonna say.
Yeah, you could have just taken mine.
My name is Lori Hopper. I'm blessed with a wonderful husband. Don't tell him I said that because he's not here. So
I want to keep that under wraps,
yeah,
you know?
don't
want to
tell
get
him.
a big head.
I do have 3 wonderful daughters. They're 14, 16, and 19. And so far, knock on wood somewhere, I haven't had any trouble with my teenage girls. I've heard all the horror stories.
Amazing.
And, so far, they're great. So I hope it doesn't come. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, and I'm blessed to stay at home. So, or cursed, as some of you might think. Some of you may want to be
How many
working.
thinks they would tear their hair out
Yeah.
if they had to stay home with their kids?
So my kids aren't at home anymore, but someone asked me what I do. I often said taxi driver, and I run a laundromat, and so that's what I do.
So, just a little bit of things that you guys balance, not too much. No. So, tell me kind of what does that look like to you all? Because I know like a lot of times we obviously don't feel like we're balancing things well. So what do we think that looks like?
Well, I think balance to me is having something that you're looking at, something in a distance that you're looking at, and you're taking small, steady steps toward that goal, and you are having to walk through many uncharted waters that you have no control over, and you manage to get there without completely crashing and burning. Even though you may fall along the way. But I think it's looking at that goal and just taking small, steady steps when things look very scary, to me, is balance.
Yeah, does anybody else? What do you think balance looks like?
Well, I would say that I think what Debbie said is very encouraging because I don't know, when I started out in my 20s, I know it's hard to believe I'm not 20 anymore, but when I started out there, I was very, the house had to be exactly the right way, and everything had to be in its place, and it was very much a self-imposed sort of life. Everything had to be perfect. And as you grow older, I think you start to get a little wisdom. Plus, you add some kids in there, and you realize you can try to be perfect, but you're going to lose your mind doing that. And that, one of my priorities is to be able to absorb as much time with my son as I can, because here in the children's ministry, I've had so many women talk about how the days are short, right? They're long, but they're short. And I really picked up that message when I was pregnant and then when having a child, that even though it's hard, and sometimes they drive you crazy, these days are so short. And so I truly just try to absorb that as much as I can. And so some days, as I mentioned to Gabby when we met at Starbucks, I was coming in on two wheels. I was coming in hot. I was late, just trying to get to school without being tardy, and then trying to get to Starbucks. So I don't know if anybody else does that, but I feel like I go from thing to thing a lot of times like that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm always coming on two wheels for everything. So, what's the hardest thing out of all the things that you guys mentioned that you're doing personally? Like, what's the hardest thing for you all to balance? Because I know there's plenty of things that I feel like that I have to balance that it's hard for me to balance. But what do you think is like the hardest thing for you guys?
I don't want anybody to look through my closets ever, and I'm pretty sure I only have one shaved leg. And I feel as though I haven't exercised in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. I put it on my calendar to do.
Yes, that's my downfall.
Maybe tomorrow.
But I think honestly, being a homemaker and all that entails, cooking. I'm not known for my cooking, and also I have a clean house. But it's not orderly. I have like piles everywhere, but I can find things easily. So me,
you have a system.
Exactly. Yeah. But my husband feels loved. My kids know they're loved. So to me, it's all about balancing what's important. And at the end of the day, that's what's important to me. And you know what? Come over and see my closets. I like to be real. I think we all should be real and not have that perfect house.
Anybody else? What's hard for you to balance?
I just want to clarify one thing first. Actually, balance is an illusion in my mind. Nothing has the same value. So, and things change. The size of the ball changes as you go through life, because at one time, family may be most important. At one time, your job may be. Things have different sizes. And so to think that you give it all the same value and all the same time, that's impossible. So if you're trying to do that, say, okay, we have 5 things to balance, everything gets 1/5 of the time. That is an illusion. So I'm reading this great book. It's called Unbalanced on Purpose, because really balance is an illusion. And if you keep trying to measure that, it's going to be very frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I keep coming to you. I keep trying to give everything the same thing. So, anyways, with that, like a lot of the times, for me, I feel like I get overwhelmed with all these different things and all this chaos coming on and all these responsibilities and all these tasks, and instead of actually doing them, the other day, I was home and I just put my hair in front of my face and just hid under it and just sat in a corner. I'm not even kidding. My husband, Ryan, was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, I'm overwhelmed and I'm failing at everything. Does anybody else feel me there? Okay. You have moments like that. Thank you, God.
They definitely relate. They are nodding their heads.
Thank you. I'm like, I am failing as a mom, as a wife, as an employee, as a child of God. I am failing. So most of the time, I will just sit there under my hair and just let time pass, and I won't do a thing that I need to do. So do y'all have any practical steps, anything in place where you're not just sitting there under your hair wasting time like I am, but you're actually doing the things that matter most to you and prioritizing. Help me out here.
I'm going to have to say, I was in that same boat last week, and I actually said to whoever I was sitting with, I feel like a piece of thin bread that has thin layers of peanut butter, and I'm trying to reach to every crevice of that bread, and I am failing miserably, and I'm going to taste horrible, and I'm going to be a crappy sandwich, and I was just pouring my heart out to this person. And
did you know this person?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely. But I would tell that to strangers. I'm telling that to all of you. But I was actually sitting with my uncle, and he gave me such wisdom, and I love this story. And I've tried to be a football fan all these years. I'm a baseball fan through and through, and I can't get into football. Go Cubs! Sorry, I had to throw that in. But this is a great football story. And I may tell it wrong, but for impact, just pretend like all the facts are correct. Okay, so when I'm feeling just like that, and the hair comes over your face, and you want to just crawl on the floor into your bed, or your coffee pot, whichever comes first. But
it's usually a coffee pot.
Yes, there was a coach years ago that grabbed a player by the face mask, and he pulled him in close, and he said, "Son, I'm going to need you to get us through this game. We are going to come back and win. We're going to do this." They were down by 40 points. And the young guy says, I think it was a college team, the young guy said, "Coach, I have no idea how to do that. That's overwhelming. I can't do it. You got to put that pressure on me. I can't do that. How am I going to do that?" And he looked at him and he said, "One play at a time." And for me, just balancing, pressing reset, turning up the music and dancing, getting on my knees before God and crying out and saying, "I need help." That story just really helped me to prioritize and to make a list, check it twice. You know, it feels so good to check things off. Doesn't that feel so good? And so that story just really helped me because, and my husband always says, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." So for me, I loved that story. And that, I hope you can think of that when you put your hair.
I will actually. I was, I don't know if any of you all watch Fixer Upper, but I've become obsessed with it. And yeah. JoJo all the way. Anyways, but I was telling them, I was like, she was saying something the other day not the other day. Me and JoJo were just sitting around. No, she on her show probably a few years ago, because it's on Netflix now, but she was talking about how it's not even about balance, like you were saying. It's not about balance. It's just about getting through it and doing the best you can where you're at. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. When I was a child, and now still to a certain extent, I was a very picky eater. And I was always trying to negotiate with my mother, like, "I'll eat this, but you have to take this and this, but maybe some of that, but only if you give me dessert." And she, in exasperation and I think wisdom, said to me, "Eat what you can and let the rest go." And that was it. So I have adopted this philosophy for my life. Do what you can, let the rest go. Because balance is almost impossible. It's like the ideal, and I try to get there, but I can only do what I can, and I have to let the rest go.
Yes. Well, I was excited to hear you say the word list because
Love the
do
list.
I have any list girls out
Love
here?
the list.
Holla, yes.
I mean, how do we ever get anything done without a list, you know?
Nothing.
You
Anytime-
tell Ariel to put it
I
on
heard
the list.
sticky notes, yes.
Well,
that
yeah.
was it.
You know, that moment when you wake up at 2:30 in the morning in a panic because you're overwhelmed and you start thinking about all these things that you have to do. I used to try to sleep through it, but that was, impossible. So now I know to just get up, start making that list. And then for me, the big thing is putting things in a priority order so that I know like what I have to do first and what I have to do next. And, oftentimes there are things on the list that I actually don't have to do at all if I really think about it. And so to me, being able to prioritize, make a list, really helps keep that panic under control and helps me to function as a human and carry on. And, it makes me think about the story of Nehemiah. He was building the wall, and there were people that tried to get him to come down, but he was really focused on his priority. And he kept his eye on that priority. And for me, that's a good thing to remember as we're trying to figure out what to do, what not to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been calendaring now. It's like my lists. Yeah, so I'll just, every single thing I need to do, I'm just stick it in the calendar, live by the calendar. I stick exercising in there. It's still not happened yet, but I feel like if I've at least put it in, I'm on my way.
But do you feel guilty
I'm
because you
well
haven't
on
done
my way.
it? Is
No,
it dragging
actually,
you down?
I feel less guilty that I've at least planned for it.
Baby
You know?
steps. Baby steps.
I
an
get up at 5:30 and I'm like, time for boot camp, and then I'm like, okay, back to bed, maybe tomorrow. But at least I woke up at 5:30. You know?
I do squats when I brush my teeth.
Yes.
That's my
I
secret.
did. I
That's
did
all I do.
kickboxing
That's
while
the
I
only
ate.
time.
I don't think that worked very well, but I did kickboxing while I was eating pizza. Yeah. So. Anyway, moving
Erase
on.
the guilt.
Anyways, yeah,
like
that's not helpful. I wouldn't suggest that. That's not advice I would give. Don't do kickboxing
But
while
the
you
squat
eat.
brushing works.
Yeah, you know.
Safe.
If you do it while you're drying your hair, you get your arm workout as well.
Oh, that's a great tip, actually. Squats and drying your hair.
I don't
you
do
get
it,
all.
but it's a good tip.
I bet the personal trainers in here are like, yes,
Yeah.
right? No,
My
I
personal
see her
trainer
over there.
knows what
She's
I.
like, no, come to
knows I'm a
boot camp.
quitter.
That's not going to work. So we've all kind of mentioned, or you all have mentioned. I'm hiding over my hair here, but you all have mentioned. Really, it's all about just setting your priorities. So how do you go about setting those priorities, especially when you got work and you've got 1,000 things to do at work, you've got home, you've got 1,000 things to do at home, you've got kids, you've got a husband, that takes a ton of time. So what do you do? And I left off the biggest one, which is Jesus. Like, how do you prioritize what's most important for you all?
I think for me, it comes down to what's going to matter in 10 years. And that's not always in the forefront of my mind, but it should be. So prioritize God, prioritize relationships. So like what I'm doing, I may take 3 hours of my time to sit and talk with a student about boys or this math test coming up, but knowing that I'm there for them and am able to impart wisdom and speak when maybe they're not listening to God, but they'll listen to another voice in their life, that's going to matter in 10 years. Whether or not I send this email or do this report or add these 3 things into the calculator so I can submit something, maybe will not.
Yeah, that's an awesome thing to think about.
I agree with Emily that you set a goal out there, and so when you're in your 20s, you do set goals for like 10 years. But when you're in your 60s, you set goals for eternity. Amen. Because it's getting really close. And so, how balance is well. Actually, I'll just tell y'all. I pray all the time, and I mean it. I pray that the Lord will let me live to be 120. So honestly, I'm only at my halfway mark right now.
Debbie and Moses, they're going toe to toe.
So, but you set your goal, and of course my goal here is okay. So this is going to sound kind of crazy to some people.
Okay.
Here's my goal. My goal is when I take my last breath here and I take my first breath in eternity, and I visualize God and Jesus sitting there, and I visualize that when Jesus sees me, he jumps up and he's running as fast to meet me as I'm to meet him, and he says to me, "You got it. You're one of the ones that got it." So as you're trying to balance, because everybody knows I'm just a loony bird when it comes to keeping things organized. But here's what I do know. Everything rotates around that one thing. Yes. Everything about what you do with your family, how you balance that, what you do with your work, what you do with other relationships, what you do with your finances, it all is going on your journey with you to that one goal. And so setting the right goal is the most important thing, and everything else, you'll balance it out some way, but living unbalanced on purpose is a big thing. It's a great book, Unbalanced on Purpose. So, and I think that's by Dan Thurman, but, you just got to realize that balance is an illusion, eternity's not. And so you just want to keep going, and everything you're doing goes around that one thing. And it helps you to remain sane when you're just going nuts. And when people think you're going nuts, you're really not. You're going toward this one thing. They just think you're going nuts, okay? But you're not.
Yeah, I was reading. I was reading the other day about. I was reading about minimalism and all that stuff, and being a minimalist, and I can't remember who I was telling, but
I was telling you.
okay, well, you did tell me about minimalism. She got on to me for all the things that I'm trying to do, but I started reading about it, and it said that your health and your sanity are resources that God wants to use. So sanity there of not going insane, that's something that just really hit me.
Yes.
But yeah, anyways, just wanted to throw that out there. You're welcome. No.
Martin Luther, I think it was, if I think this is the right guy that said this, but he said that I've got so much to do that I better spend the first 3 hours of my day in prayer. And I don't know about you all, but when I do, and I'm like Leslie, I have really great goals. I get up at 5:30 and I want to hit my knees right then, but sometimes, other things vie for that attention. But my alone time, when I'm on the mountain with God, my alone time with Jesus, supernaturally, and this has never let me down thus far. Jesus has never let me down, but this is the truth. That if I have so much to do, and if I am so overwhelmed, and I feel just completely out of whack, if I spend an hour, 2 hours on my knees, somehow, supernaturally, that is the most productive day that I have had in a long time. And I'm telling you, try it, I promise.
Yeah, well, that really leads into what I was going to ask next, which is, how do you know when you're feeling unbalanced, which is mainly, I feel like, just when you're getting your priorities out of whack, how do you know that you've reached that point, and what do you do to turn back around?
For me, unbalanced is a lot like crazy. I am running to and fro, trying to get everything done and pick up all the pieces, and actually I do nothing. We get to the end of the day, and nothing has been done. And it's terrible. And I feel like I've forgotten something the entire day. And I finally think, oh, okay, I'm just crazy. I've not forgotten anything. And then I realize, oh, wait, I have. It's terrible. That's what unbalanced feels like for me. So usually it's at the end of the day when I've hit that, and the best thing I can possibly do is hit the reset button, sleep. Yes. Take a breath, step back, and start over the next day. And make my list, make my priorities, and say, what is the most important thing, and put that at the top.
Yeah. What about you,
I feel
Leslie?
like my pendulum is constantly swinging, and even over the course of a week, Monday morning, 5:30, I'm at the gym. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. I come home. I get my quiet time in. And then,
All-star over here.
Well, Mondays are good. Mondays I'm
For that
rolling.
one morning.
But we're usually still rolling in on two wheels to get to school and all that. But then as the week goes on, I start getting tired because I've been getting up at 5:30 to go to the gym. And so then I maybe, by the end of the week, my quiet time's getting really quiet because I'm almost asleep. And maybe I didn't even get up for it this time. And so... But it's like I'm constantly swinging back and forth between balance and out of balance. And I know how I get there, spending time, like Lisa said, with the Lord, but also making sure that, I'm not wasting time. The iPhone is a time waster, right? Yes. Checking everybody's recipes on Facebook and all that. I mean, you just lose your life on social media and those things if you're not really careful. So I have to kind of constantly remind myself, hey, let's get back on focus. Let's do what's important, and let's cut out this other junk. And it's not easy. It's not perfect. And I think that's why I and most of us feel like we're always failing, is because it's constantly swinging back and forth.
Gabby, I want to share something, and I learned this working with Celebrate Recovery, actually, and it was called have a heart check. And here's how I know, and you use the HEART, but here's how I know for sure if I'm unbalanced. H, when you're thinking, and I'm 60 now, I'm going to have to remember what I'm going to tell you. Okay. If you're hurt, you are unbalanced. If you feel excluded, you are unbalanced. If you feel angry, you are unbalanced. If you feel rejected, you are probably unbalanced. And if you feel tired, you are probably unbalanced. And so if you can think about your own life, about feeling hurt and excluded and angry and rejected and tired, then it's a pretty good indication you are out of whack. And you need to check yourself because balance is very much a spiritual matter of the heart. Yes. So, that's just something I learned that you can go back and think it's fairly easy. And if I get my feelings hurt, I need to check myself real quick and think, okay, it's not somebody else's problem, it's a problem with me.
Yeah.
But it affects your balance in almost every situation, whether it's on your job or your relationships or just all kinds of places.
That is good. That's really good. Really kind of hits you in the gut there a lot, because I think a lot of times when we feel hurt or rejected or anything, we really put the blame off on other people, and it's really us that we need to be looking at. That's something I don't want to hear, but that's good. That's really good. So one thing that, for me at least, I know whenever I feel imbalanced, it's me hiding under my hair there. I do it a lot, but it's me just kind of hiding and not doing anything. And I know when I was talking to you, Debbie, about doing this, and you talked about, and we've all kind of mentioned it, but just about really delighting in the Lord. And that's something that, honestly, sometimes I take that for granted, and I don't really do that much. And you had mentioned even just 5 minutes of delighting in the Lord, and the days that I have done that, it's been so much better. So I can really tell a difference. And gosh, if I could get more than 5 minutes, that would be amazing. But even just the 5 minutes, that's something I think that we can all spare. Is just 5 minutes alone, just to worship, just to pray, just to be with God. But I think that's definitely seems like number one on our list for when we're feeling unbalanced.
I am unbalanced always. I stay unbalanced. I don't know if I've ever been balanced, but my best days are when my quiet time is in the morning. It's quiet, the kids are at school, and the day goes so much smoother.
Yeah.
But I don't often do that. I'm not a morning person. I can wake up early, but I'm going to fall asleep during my quiet time. It's not going to work out. I'm not a night person, so I fall asleep at night.
So you're just a midday, you are on it.
11 to 12, I'm good, but beyond that, I don't have anything to give. So I pray a lot in the car, constantly. I'm in the car a lot, but that's not a replacement for that quiet time, which is you and God.
Yeah, and I have noticed it's something that people say is like, your mornings, the first thing that you should do is to be with Jesus. And when I actually do that, I can tell a difference. It's a huge difference. Like this morning, I woke up and I woke up at 5:30 to go to boot camp and roll back over, and it's my routine now. And I almost that's my exercise routine: roll over, roll back. Anyway, no, but I literally I almost got on Instagram. Just to what's going on at 5:30? Nothing. Okay. Anyways, but it's crazy how addictive that iPhone is. But I almost got on Instagram. I was like, no, what am I doing? Like, I'm awake right now. Why don't I just pray and read the Bible some? And granted, I stayed in bed and read it from my phone, but it has really made the whole day just so much better. But anyways. There you go. That's my routine. You all can take it up too if you want. But so one thing, and one reason why I just love you guys and having you in my life just to speak to me and where I'm at. But one thing that we all need is friends and people that we can talk to really keep us in check. So just tell me about that. Like, do y'all have people in your lives that you go to, or friends that you have that you're accountable to, or who really like build you up or encourage you or keep you on track? I need people to keep me on track, but what do you guys have in your lives? Who do you have? Do you go to anybody?
I've got some friends that that you know how sometimes you can be prayed for and then you can be prayed for. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And even if it's through text messages, I've got some friends. One is in the audience tonight. I saw her earlier. Julie Wolf. I'm going to give you a big shout out. Whoop, whoop. But we've got a group of girlfriends that they just surround you with prayer. And I think that's the best weapon that you can throw at the enemy. And it's also, I think, as I get older, I'm almost 40, and as I have aged, that is to me, you know, that old question, what do you look for in a friend? I look for my sisters who can pray, who know how to pray and just lift me up to the Father. That's my favorite thing in a friend, and just to have that fellowship with one another.
Yeah, that's awesome. Shout out.
You know, one of the things when it comes to balance, I think, I don't know about you all, but sometimes I have a really hard time asking for help. And I don't know why, and maybe it's just me, but we feel like, I mean, us ladies, we take on so many responsibilities, things that we don't even need to take on, but, you know, we do. And then it's like we have to do it all our own, and we sometimes don't ask for help. And I know that's something I need to be better at. And so I would encourage those of you who are struggling, you know, ask your friends for help. And I have some friends of mine. I used to live in Washington, D.C., and we had a ladies' small group there. And, you know, it's just like that group of people, when you just make that group of friends, you're just like lifetime friends. And, you know, we see each other like once a year, but I don't always see them. But when I talk to them, it's like we never missed a beat. And so a number of those ladies I'll reach out to. Like even tonight I said, hey, I'm going to go do this event at church, and would you pray for me? So it's really great to have friends like that. And you know, they're not perfect. We all have like our own issues, but they're perfect to me because they're my people. So.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of acquaintances, and I have a very few what I call really good friends. And that's all that's necessary to me. But I have a friend who is my best friend in 7th grade, and probably I don't see her except maybe every 3 to 4 years. But wherever we pick up, it's just like we were in middle school again. And then I have a friend who, when you talk about iron sharpens iron, who she can line me out and I can line her out. And, you know, and I can tell her anything and she's still going to love me. And I can call her at any time of day or night and she's going to be there. And I always want to be a friend like her. I feel like she gets the short end of the stick. But she is a treasure to me, a special, special friend. And if I need $5 and she's got it, it's mine. And if she needs $5 and I've got it, it's hers. She's that kind of a friend. I think sometimes we get discouraged because we feel like that we don't have a lot of friends. But in order to have friends, you have to be friendly. And it takes authenticity to really develop that kind of a friend. So, and those are the friends when you get out of whack that you can call and cry and, you know, tell them all your stuff, and they're still your friend, amazingly.
Yeah.
So,
No, I was just going to say I have a wonderful best friend. The best thing is she agrees with me. When I complain, it's I'm right. Everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
But no, she would do anything for me. She would be there in a snap, and it's the first one to come when I need anything. So friends are important.
Yeah, I think it's really important for health, for sanity, for a balance, for getting you in line when you're out of whack. And those relationships take time. They really do take a lot of time to pour into, but they're so worth it. So with getting ready to kind of wrap it up, I guess, I want to hear from each of you. for myself, but for these ladies out here too, just what's one practical step, that you would recommend for people to do when it comes to balance or the lack thereof, or setting priorities? What's one practical step that we could start doing? One piece of advice.
My advice would be just say no. We don't have to do everything we're asked to do. And I know when my kids were younger, they were in elementary school, I everything that needed planned, I volunteered to do it, and I loved it. But when I got home at the end of the day, we had nothing for dinner because I hadn't been to the grocery in who knows how long. The next morning for lunches, I would have to take them to school, go to the grocery and get stuff to pack for their lunch, go home and pack their lunch, and then take it back to school. So I'm my own worst enemy because I agreed to do anything and everything. So just say no, ladies.
Don't have to do everything. And it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You don't have to be Superwoman. That's something that I think we all forget, really.
And I think the older you get, when your kids get older, you realize that everybody's gonna be okay. Even though everything didn't get done that day, you still have a pile of laundry on the floor. Everyone's favorite dinner might not be on the table, but they have food. So, and everyone's gonna make it through the day.
Yeah.
That's good.
That is good.
That's good. We're going to order. I would say for me, grabbing a new perspective or a different perspective. I like to surround myself with people, and sometimes I spend long, lonely hours at a computer editing pictures. And sometimes I can be grumbling to myself or my dogs, and I love when the Lord reminds me, look at you in your little comfortable house, drinking your little water bottle, complaining. And I love when God reminds us of His eyes and His perspective. One of my favorite teachers, preachers, pastor, whatever he is nowadays, is Francis Chan. I love that guy because he always gives me the eternal perspective. And I think sometimes when I feel unbalanced, it's because I'm focusing on earthly, here and now junk that's not going to matter in 10 years, not going to amount to a hill of beans. And so I love when I just keep the eternal mind's eye and I keep His eternity in focus and get a new perspective.
Yeah.
I think, not one thing, but two. I think yesterday, Pastor Trevor, if you were here, heard a message on creating margin. And creating margin is giving yourself space. Even like I have to give myself margin every morning driving to school at Williamsburg, or I'm going to be late. So you give yourself enough time to do that. You give yourself margin if you're going to go out with your husband. You give yourself space to do that. So developing the ability to have margin is a big deal. And especially in creating a new business, you have to use margin. So I'm having to learn all kinds of lessons. But here's the single biggest thing I have for myself and for you is whatever you're doing, because remember, all things are not equal. And so if you are going to be with your children, be with your children. It's called mindfulness. It's being in the moment. So if you're going to be, let's just say your child comes home and they want to talk to you about something. If you are doing this and your child's trying to talk to you, you're really out of balance. And the child's going to feel that. If I'm counseling somebody, I've got to be in the moment with that person. And that's probably why I love counseling so much, is because you can be right in the moment of that. If you are worshiping here or at your church on a Sunday, be in the moment with that. Learning to be in the moment and fully engaged with whomever you're with or whatever you're doing creates balance, and it makes you feel like you've got that under control. And so just learning mindfulness. So YouTube it, do whatever you want to, go to a counselor, but you need to learn how to be in the moment of where you're at in order to feel fulfillment in that and feel like you're getting something out of that or adding something to it. So be in the moment. And I'll agree with Leslie. Technology has changed the culture. And, even in my own marriage, I would go home and my husband would say to me, when are you going to start doing what you tell everybody to do? In particular, with the phone, okay? And so I had to create margin there. When I get home, I go to the bedroom and I turn the phone volume completely down and I plug it in and it stays there. So if you try to contact me, you're going to have to, I'll call you in the morning, maybe, or 24 or 48 hours later. But my phone is no longer my master.
That's right.
My computer is no longer my master. The Lord is my master. And so we need to be mindful and we need to be in the moment with whomever we're with or whatever we're doing so that we can feel successful and it feels more balanced. Because Lord knows I'm doing a million things. But I'm learning how to be in the moment, of writing a term paper or counseling a person or, I can get in the moment real good with my granddaughters, real good, because the priority's there, okay? But learning it's sometimes uncomfortable to be in the moment, but learning to be in the moment is, to me, the best way to create balance or that illusion of balance.
Well, I don't know if one of the things that I really want to work on is being more authentic in my relationships. Debbie mentioned how I have a lot of acquaintances and, I'm really type A, so I want my house to be in perfect order before anybody comes over. But I'm really trying harder to be just more of a welcoming, inviting, come in, hey, everything's a mess, come on in. To have that authentic relationship with people, kind of the Mary versus Martha, I'm very much a doer, task-oriented a lot of times, and so I just want to be able to have authentic relationships with people. I have a lot of those with family, but I want to be able to have more of those with friends as well. And so that's one of the things I'll be working on.
Yeah.
My advice would be to invest in what matters. And for me, that looks like small groups. My life is small groups. I have 4. But they're the sweetest part of my week. Sunday mornings, Monday nights, Wednesday nights. And I think that that's where you start investing in the long term, 10 years down the road. So you build those relationships and you find people who are much farther along than you and you want to catch up so they can mentor you. Or you find people who are behind you and you can mentor them as you come up. Or in our well group, we actually met and I found out that I am not as bad as I think I am. So that was very encouraging. So I would encourage everyone to join a small group.
Yeah, that's awesome. So really, just kind of getting ready to close it out here, these ladies and myself, we're not up here because we are doing it right. We're not up here because we have it all balanced or have an illusion of balance. We're up here just to share some insight in our failures and how we're trying to succeed now. And I'm probably still going to have some days where I've got my face covered with my hair sitting in the corner. Somebody, if you see me, pull me out. But to know that it really is amazing how it's just about that time with God, really. When you get down to it, that's the main thing. That's the whole point of why we were put on this earth. And when I think about, if you were here yesterday, what Trevor said with the fact that how you spend your time is how you spend your life. And that shifted my perspective a ton of just thinking about priorities and all the tasks that I have to do. And when I feel crazy and like I'm going to pull out my hair or I want to cover my face with it and hide, to know that, like, okay, how do I want to spend my life right now in this moment? What do I want to give a part of myself to? What do I want to give my life to Do I want to be giving my life to this thing? No, probably not. So take that away and moving on to the main focus. But just having that time with God, especially mainly I feel like in the mornings, it really helps me out a lot. But anytime you have just that, even 5 minutes, it's not a magic like pill or anything like that, but it's amazing how it refocuses you. He gives you wisdom, and he gives you clarity in knowing what those priorities are and where to spend your time and where to spend your focus. And just knowing that, I think what everybody up here has said as well is that, those friends, those authentic relationships that we have, they are a major part. And that's the whole reason of why we're here as a community, because we can't do this alone. We just can't. None of us are superwoman. As much as we try, we're going to try and we're going to fail every time. It's not something that we can do by ourselves. So as we're getting ready to go, let's just, if you would just bow your heads and put your arm, on somebody next to you. Just wrap them up in a hug or put your arm around them and just grab a hold of. You might want to open your eyes for that one. Grab a hold of them and now close them back once you get. Should have thought about that. But just grab them for a minute, because we can't do this by ourselves. We can't, and that's okay. That's okay. So let's just whoever you got next to you, just for the next few minutes, let's just pray for that person. Pray that they have focus, that they take that time, that they feel peace.